Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. In a world where fame is fleeting and love is often scripted, one story still makes millions believe in something real. It's the story of Menglong and Xing Fei, two souls who met under the bright lights of show business, only to prove that true love can exist, even when the world turns against it. What if the most beautiful love story in Chinese entertainment wasn't written in a drama, but lived in reality? This is not a tale of glamour. It's a story of devotion, sacrifice, and a love that outlasted fame itself. Their story began not with fame or fortune, but with two ordinary souls who still carried the purity of dreamers. Menglong, a man of few words, possessed a calm strength that drew others in. His presence was quiet yet magnetic, the kind of gentleness that could silence a room. Xing Fei, by contrast, was filled with light, vibrant, spontaneous, and full of laughter. She had the sort of energy that made even the most tiring days feel a little warmer. When fate brought them together on set, something invisible began to stir. Not a performance, but a quiet collision of hearts. In the beginning, everything between them was professional. They rehearsed their lines, discussed scenes, and shared polite smiles beneath the glow of studio lights. Yet, the more time they spent together, the more those rehearsals began to blur into something else. Between takes, they would laugh at inside jokes, help each other remember lines, or share small conversations that had nothing to do with the script. It was in those fleeting, unguarded moments that their connection deepened, unspoken but undeniable. Crew members noticed it first. They said the way you looked at Xing Fei wasn't how an actor looked at his co-star, but how a man looked at someone he truly admired. Their chemistry on screen felt too real to be rehearsed, too effortless to be staged. Even the camera seemed to fall in love with them, capturing a sincerity that could never be faked. When the director called cut, their eyes still lingered for a moment longer than necessary, as though neither wanted to leave that world they had built together. Behind the laughter and the lights, something quiet was taking root, a feeling that both of them tried to ignore, yet neither could resist. They began to find comfort in each other's company, staying back after filming to talk about their hopes, their struggles, and the weight of trying to survive in an industry that often demanded perfection at the cost of humanity. They shared meals in silence, exchanged shy smiles when words failed, and learned to listen to each other's hearts in a world too loud to hear its own. It was a beginning both fragile and powerful, born not out of desire for attention, but out of the rarest kind of understanding, the kind that happens when two souls meet and recognize a reflection of themselves. When filming ended, what remained between Menglong and Xing Fei could no longer be dismissed as fleeting emotion. What began as shared laughter and gentle companionship had quietly deepened into something rare and unspoken. There were no public declarations, no extravagant gestures, only the silent understanding that their lives had begun to intertwine. Away from the cameras, they moved carefully, as though afraid that any sudden motion might break the fragile bond they were building. Yu was steady and observant, often the one to notice when Xing Fei was tired or overwhelmed. Without saying a word, he would bring her a bottle of warm water or drape his jacket over her shoulders. It was in these simple, unannounced acts that his affection found its truest form. Xing Fei, in return, offered him something equally profound, comfort without expectation. She would send messages late at night reminding him to eat, to rest, to take care of himself amid the chaos of their schedules. She became the calm in his restless world. Slowly, these moments of care wove themselves into a rhythm, one that neither of them dared to name but both quietly cherished. To outsiders, they appeared as two colleagues bound by friendship, yet those who looked closely could see the tenderness behind every glance. But love, especially one that blossoms in the spotlight, is rarely allowed to exist in peace. Rumors began to circulate, fueled by photographs, speculation, and the endless hunger of a public eager for gossip. Whispers of romance became headlines, and admiration turned into scrutiny. What was once private and sacred was suddenly dissected by strangers who knew nothing of their hearts. You Ever Protective tried to shield Xing Fei from the noise, urging her to focus on her craft and ignore the chaos. Yet fame has a way of invading even the quietest corners of one's life. They could no longer share a meal without being photographed, no longer laugh freely without someone interpreting their expressions. Still, in the midst of all this, they found ways to hold on to what truly mattered. A brief message before dawn, a shared silence that said more than words, a promise hidden in the way they looked at each other. Their love did not fade. It evolved into something resilient, something that could exist even when the world demanded it disappear. It was then they realized that what bound them was not just affection, but the courage to protect what was real in a world built on illusion. Fame had finally crowned Menglong, yet behind the applause and flashing lights, his body was beginning to betray him. Years of relentless work, sleepless nights, and the pressure to remain perfect had taken their toll. He smiled through exhaustion, hiding the pain that shadowed him from the public eye. But Xing Fei noticed. She always did. It was in the way he paused to catch his breath between takes, the faint tremor in his hands, the silence that lingered where laughter used to be. Without needing to ask, she understood that something was wrong, and she refused to leave his side. When his health began to decline, she quietly withdrew from several major projects. She told friends it was to rest, but the truth was simpler. She wanted to be with him. At the hospital, she would sit by his bedside, reading aloud from the scripts they once practiced together, hoping that the sound of her voice might bring him peace. Sometimes, when the pain became unbearable, he would reach for her hand, grounding himself in her presence. She would smile, even when her eyes were filled with tears, whispering promises she knew she might never have the chance to keep. You tried to stay strong, convincing himself that he could still return to work, still fulfill the dreams they had built together. But his strength was fading, and with it the illusion of control. One night, as rain whispered against the hospital window, he looked at her with a kind of clarity that only comes when time begins to run out. His voice was faint, fragile, but steady. He told her not to cry, told her that love would not end here, that even when the world stopped turning, he would still find her somewhere beyond the stars. She clung to him, refusing to let go, her tears falling like rain upon his hands. The machines hummed softly, indifferent to the heartbreak unfolding before them. And then the rhythm slowed. The world held its breath. In that final moment, the line between life and eternity blurred, and their story reached its most painful truth. The cameras, the noise, the fame, all of it vanished, leaving only two souls bound by a promise that death could not break. It was not an ending, but a quiet surrender, a reminder that love in its purest form asks for nothing except to be remembered. Years have passed since that night, yet every year on Menglong's birthday, Xing Fei still visits his resting place. White lilies in hand, a single candle burning softly in the wind. Sometimes fans spot her there, quiet, smiling through tears as if speaking to him. I kept your promise. I still believe in us. She doesn't seek attention. She doesn't post or explain. Because some love stories don't need words. They live in silence, in memories, in the way her eyes still shine when someone mentions his name. Menglong's films and music remain timeless, gentle, sincere, filled with warmth. Xing Fei continues her career, stronger than ever, yet with a touch of melancholy that only true love leaves behind. Their story reminds us that real love doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be true. It teaches us that even in the cruelest endings, love can still be beautiful. Because love doesn't die, it transforms into light, guiding those left behind. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to breathe, to remember, and to believe again in love that lasts beyond fame, beyond time. Speech Balloon, share your thoughts below. Have you ever witnessed a love so real it changed the way you see life? And if you wish to hear more stories that remind us of humanity, hope, and emotion behind the spotlight, backhand index pointing right, subscribe to Update X24H, where every story is told with truth, heart, and respect. Thank you for watching, and remember, love, no matter how fleeting, always leaves light behind.